Hi, I'm attorney Ben Schwartz, and today we have 7 questions about Delaware dog bite personal injury cases. One of the types of cases that my law firm handles is dog bite cases. Oftentimes, we handle not only dog bite cases, but dog knockdown injury cases. We've handled car accident, motorcycle accident cases that are caused by dogs running free. There's all types of personal injury cases relating to dogs that you would never think about, and it makes up a pretty significant portion of our practice. So today we have 7 questions about dog bite cases, and my lovely and talented assistant Alyssa, who is off camera but who's shooting this video, is going to ask us the questions, and I'll shoot from the hip and give you the answers.
Number 1. Do I have the right to ask my neighbor to pay my doctor's bills if their dog bites me?
The answer is absolutely. If your neighbor's dog bites you, then hopefully your neighbor has homeowner's insurance that'll pay for the medical bills relating to the dog injury. If you're injured as a result of a bite or a knockdown or some incident involving your neighbor's dog, you absolutely ought to notify your neighbor immediately that their dog caused the injury, and you should ask them to contact their homeowner's insurance and put the insurance company on notice of the claim, get you a claim number so that you can give that to your doctor's office. And assuming that there is insurance there, then I would say you get that claim number, you give it to the doctor's office, and then let the doctor's office deal with billing and getting paid for the treatment relating to that injury.
Number 2. What liability does the dog owner have when a dog bites a child?
Oh, well, these are pretty unfortunate cases, and they're cases that we see a lot. Children love playing with dogs. Children don't necessarily know how to approach a dog. A lot of cases we see children will be hugging on dogs or putting pressure on dogs, and the dog will snap and bite them. Oftentimes when a dog bites a child, it's in the face or it's in a sensitive area. And so there's a number of things that, legally speaking, that the child is entitled to recover. One is what we just talked about, medical coverage, medical payments, so that the child can get medical treatment or psychological treatment if necessary for the injury. Some other things that the child is entitled to is compensation for disfigurement. Disfigurement means scarring. So if the dog bite caused a scar or the dog scratch injury caused a scar, then the child is entitled to compensation for that scarring, that disfigurement. Compensation for pain and suffering. Everyone, I think, knows what pain and suffering damages are. It's damages to compensate you or compensate the child who's bitten by the dog for the pain, the suffering, the trauma that they've had to go through and deal with as a result of being bitten by a dog. And there are other elements of damages. There are other things that are recoverable. For instance, if the dog bite creates a impairment to the body, an impairment to the function of a body part, that's one of the types of things that damages would be available for compensation to cover. So there are a number of things in every dog bite case that we're able to recover compensation for when we've got a child injury victim.
Number 3. Is an owner responsible for injuries to a trespasser?
In Delaware, that's a good question. In Delaware, we have a statute, a law, that basically says that the owner of the dog is liable, is legally responsible for any injuries caused by their dog. And you don't have to prove that the owner was negligent. You don't have to prove that the owner did something wrong. You just prove that the owner is the owner of the dog, and that owner is legally responsible for all injuries caused by the dog. There are exceptions to the Delaware that's called strict liability. There are exceptions to the Delaware strict liability statute, and one of them is that if the victim of the dog bite or the dog injury was trespassing on the owner's property or was there to commit a crime in the process of committing a crime on that property, then the owner is not strictly liable. So I would say no. If the victim is trespassing on the property and gets bit, then the statute does not impose strict liability on the dog owner for those injuries.
Number 4. Does Delaware have the one free bite rule?
No. What we were just talking about, strict liability. So let me talk about what the one free bite rule is. Generally speaking, when you're talking about a liability case for an injury victim where the injury occurs on someone's property, generally speaking, you have to prove that the owner of the property was negligent. And what that typically means is that if there is a dangerous condition causing injury on property, you have to prove that the owner of the property knew about the dangerous condition or they should have known about the dangerous condition. So if the dangerous condition is a dog that bites someone, the question becomes, did the owner of the dog or the owner of the property where the dog is residing, did that person know or should they have known that the dog was dangerous? Did they know or should they have known that the dog was going to bite someone? That's the one free bite rule. Some states say that if the owner of the dog didn't know the dog was dangerous, the owner of the dog thought it was a friendly dog, didn't have any history of biting people, had no reason to believe that the dog was going to bite someone in a particular case, then they're not liable. They're not legally responsible. That's not the rule in Delaware. As we were talking just a minute ago, the Delaware statute says that the owner is strictly liable. There is no one free bite rule in the state of Delaware. So basically it's very simple for dog bite cases. There are exceptions to the rule, as we talked about a moment ago, for trespassing, or if the victim is tormenting the dog and the dog bites, then strict liability doesn't apply. But in Delaware, there's no such thing as a one free bite rule.
Number 5. Can I appeal if I lose a dog bite case?
Well, yes, you can appeal. In Delaware, dog bite cases are filed, generally speaking, filed in the Superior Court, which is our court of general jurisdiction. It's our trial court. The appeals from Superior Court are to the Delaware Supreme Court, and they're not. There's two types of appeals in the law in the courts. One type of appeal is called a de novo appeal, which means an appeal for a new trial in a different court. There's also an appeal that is an on-the-record appeal. And an on-the-record appeal means that you get the transcript from the trial, you believe that the judge made a mistake, and so you want to go to a higher appellate court and show them the mistake in the transcript, submit a brief, which is basically a written legal memorandum outlining the law, outlining the mistake, and outlining how it ruined your trial, and you do that in the Supreme Court. That's the type of appeal that we have in dog bite cases. If you file a lawsuit in Superior Court, you lose and you go to Supreme Court, you've got an on-the-record appeal.
Number 6. If I get a lawyer, won't this ruin everything? Take a long time, be too expensive, hurt my relationship, and make them put the dog down?
Well, getting a lawyer doesn't make anybody put a dog down. Putting a dog down is a proceeding that the lawyer, quite frankly, doesn't get involved with and doesn't have any control over. That's something that typically animal control is going to be involved with. Getting an attorney in a dog bite case, prosecuting a dog bite case, may hurt your relationship with your neighbors if the dog belongs to your neighbors and they really love their dog, and now you're suing them for the injuries caused by the dog. That could certainly impair your relationship with your neighbors. Nobody likes to get sued. But in most cases, we find that when someone is bringing a lawsuit against a neighbor, for a dog bite injury case, most of the time there's insurance to cover that. And so it's not like the neighbor, the owner of the dog, is going to be paying the award, the settlement, or the damages award out of their own pocket. Does it still cause friction between neighbors? Absolutely, but what really causes friction between neighbors is having dangerous dogs that go around biting people. And so I wouldn't say that it's hiring a lawyer that creates the problem. I would say that if you have a dog and it bites me, that's what the problem is, not getting the lawyer involved in the case.
And lastly, number 7, are dog owners always covered by insurance?
No, they're not always covered by insurance. A lot of times people will let their homeowner's insurance lapse. A lot of times people don't see the value in paying the premium, or they get in a tight spot and they need to use that money for something else. Maybe they have an emergency, they don't pay the homeowner's premium, and the homeowner's insurance lapses. And then when the dog bites someone and we contact the dog owner, we say, hey, get your insurance and give it to us. Turns out they don't have insurance. Also, we find that homeowners insurance will sometimes have an exclusion for the dog. It'll say, we don't cover Rottweilers and Pit Bulls and a list of breeds, and then the dog that bit our client, if it's one of those types of dogs, may not be covered by homeowners insurance. So it's not automatic. It's not automatic that there's going to be insurance to cover the injury claim, but that's not something that you typically find out until you get an attorney involved and the attorney starts the process of notifying the parties and researching whether there's insurance. Well, those were the 7 questions we had this week for dog bite injury cases. Alyssa, thank you for being our narrator, our question asker. You did a fantastic job of asking questions. I'm Ben Schwartz. I'm a Delaware attorney with the law firm Schwartz & Schwartz. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope you have not had a dog bite, but if you did, hopefully you found it useful or helpful. If you watched the video and you liked it, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/SchwartzandSchwartz. Follow us there and you'll get more videos in your Facebook news feed.